Kurtop here, and these are 100 most unusual finds that science can't explain. The oldest mineral on Earth. In 2001, a unique zircon crystal was discovered in Australia, which is recognized as the oldest mineral on Earth. Its age is an impressive 4.4 billion years, which makes it a witness to the earliest stages of the formation of our planet. This tiny crystal gives scientists the opportunity to understand how the Earth cooled and formed in its first billion years. Today, this rare artifact can be seen in the Geological Museum of the University of Wisconsin in Madison, USA. Zirconium is interesting not only for its age, but also because its resistance to destruction allows it to preserve information about ancient processes that took place on Earth, which makes it a real keeper of the history of our planet. Ceramic figurines from Mexico. In 1944, thousands of ceramic figurines were discovered in the Mexican city of Acámbaro, which have since sparked heated debate among scientists. These figurines depict humans, animals, and even dinosaurs, which has led to speculation about possible contact between ancient civilizations and dinosaurs, or the existence of a civilization with incredible knowledge of the ancient world. Some supporters of alternative theories even hypothesize extraterrestrial origins or influences. However, the authenticity of the Acámbaro figurines is seriously questioned by most scientists. Many researchers believe that these artifacts may be modern fakes created for attention-grabbing or commercial gain. The lack of reliable dating and archaeological context increases skepticism about their authenticity. Tomb with unique frescoes. Amazing murals depicting daily life in the 8th century have been found in a small Tang-era tomb in northern China. Frescoes dating back to 736 cover all the walls of the tomb except the floor and depict scenes from life in the Tang dynasty. The tomb belonged to a man who died at the age of 63. The paintings are done in the style of the Tang era, using strong outlines and simple shading, and appear mostly two-dimensional. This style, called figures under the tree, was popular in Taiyuan, the capital of Shaanxi province. The gate, corridor, and pedestal of the tomb are also decorated with frescoes. There are guards depicted on the outside of the gate. The frescoes do not depict famous historical periods or important people. In one scene, people perform everyday tasks, such as grinding grain or drawing water from a well. Another shows a woman with horses and a man with a whip, presumably from a non-Han ethnic group. The figures in the frescoes resemble the same man and woman, leading archaeologists to speculate that they were the owners of the tomb. General's gold jewelry. In 2020, a huge trove of gold artifacts was found in Vindelev, Denmark, dating back to pre-Viking Age migrations. The finds included 23 gold objects, including 13 5th-century bracteates, gold fittings possibly from weapons, and 4 4th-century Roman medallions. Particularly noteworthy is the runic inscribed bracteate, the largest ever found, containing a reference to Odin, a key figure in Norse mythology. Research into these medallions has shed light on possible cultural and social connections between Vindelev and other regions of Europe. It is assumed that the medallions could serve as wedding ransoms or high gifts in elite circles. These gold medallions were probably worn by women as pendants, indicating the high status of their owner, who carried weight both locally and internationally. The peculiarity of these medallions is that they were given to prominent Roman figures such as senators and generals, and their presence in Vindelev, far from the Roman Empire, underscores the importance of this find. Soap. This is one of the oldest hygiene products. Archaeologists found the first mention of soap on clay tablets from Mesopotamia, which are about 3,500 years old. However, many scientists believe that soap was used earlier. In ancient Egypt, papyri found in the burials of the pharaohs contain references to the rulers washing themselves using soap. Soap in those days was made from a mixture of fats and ash, which entering into a chemical reaction formed a soap solution. This ancient product was important not only for hygiene but also for the treatment of skin diseases. Over time, soap recipes improved, and already in ancient Rome, soap became more widespread. Thus, the history of soap goes back thousands of years, and it has always played a key role in maintaining cleanliness and health. One of the oldest books, the Crosby-Cheyenne Codex, a rare manuscript that revolutionized the study of Christianity, was sold on June 11, 2024 at Christie's in London for nearly $3.9 million. Created in mid-4th century Egypt, this codex contains biblical and other early Christian texts, making it unique for the study of Christian history. The codex was found along with more than 20 other manuscripts near Dishna, Egypt in 1952. These documents are known as the Bodmer Papyri, named after the Swiss collector Martin Bodmer. The codex includes 5 early Christian texts in Coptic, including the earliest known texts of the Book of Jonah and 1 Peter. These texts are important for understanding early Christian literature and culture. The codex represents an early example of the transition from scroll to book. The codex consists of 104 pages of papyrus that were previously sewn together but are now behind protective plexiglass. This transitional period is important for the history of writing and books as it indicates the evolution of writing technologies. The codex was rewritten by the same scribe, probably an Egyptian monk, in the 3rd century AD. He used freshly cut reeds as a feather. The preservation of the codex is explained by the dry climate of Egypt, which allowed it to survive more than 1,700 years. Old dried lemon. In the UK, a 285-year-old lemon found in an old chest was sold at auction. The buyer paid £1,400 for it. This brown dried lemon was discovered when locals were sorting through their uncle's belongings and found a 19th century chest. Suspecting that the chest might be valuable, they decided to show it to auctioneer David Brettle. While Brettle was photographing a chest to sell, he came across a lemon. The citrus peel bore the inscription, "Presented by Mr. P. Lou Francini, November 4th, 1739, to Miss E. Baxter." It is believed that lemon was brought to England from British India as a romantic gift. Brettle decided to have a little fun and put the lemon up for auction with a starting price of £40.60. However, the lemon was sold for a record almost £1,500. The high value of a lemon is due to its rarity because an item like this is unlikely to ever appear at auction again. Stone Age bag. Around 2500 BC, a Neolithic man in what is now Germany found an ingenious way to decorate his bag. During excavations near Leipzig in 2012, archaeologists found more than 100 dog teeth neatly arranged in a grave, suggesting that they decorated the flap of the bag. Archaeologists noted that over time, the leather or fabric of the bag disappeared, leaving only the teeth pointing in one direction. These teeth likely decorated the outside of the bag. All of them are arranged in the same way, reminiscent of a modern flap. These finds were made in the Profan Quarry. Other important artifacts were found in the same area, including the burial of a woman who lived around 50 BC, buried with half a kilogram of gold jewelry. However, even against the backdrop of such rich finds, the bag with dog teeth was a real discovery. This is the first time that archaeologists have found direct evidence of the existence of such an accessory. The teeth of a dozen dogs were used to decorate this bag. In other burials of the time, archaeologists also found wolf teeth, dog teeth, and shells, which were apparently used to decorate bedspreads and clothing. When the fabric decomposed, only these decorative elements remained. Ancient inscriptions of the pharaohs in the Nile. Archaeological divers at the bottom of the murky waters of the Nile in Egypt examined algae-covered rock formations. At first glance, the stones seemed unremarkable. However, upon closer examination, scientists discovered several inscriptions associated with the ancient pharaohs. A joint team of Egyptian and French archaeologists decided to explore the ruins in the reservoir in Aswan. Under a layer of algae, they found several carvings that were at least 2,300 years old. The images ranged from drawings of ancient Egyptian pharaohs to hieroglyphs. The photo shows several well-preserved carved figures. The shapes are blurred by water and quite difficult to distinguish. One set of lettering appears to be a row of mannequin heads above 2 objects that resemble tombstones. These ancient inscriptions are still being studied. Archaeologists believe that these finds will help to better understand how the ancient kings ruled in those distant times. The Chinese have tried an ancient drink. A tightly sealed bronze vessel was found in an ancient tomb in the Chinese province of Shanxi. Researchers found about 300 milliliters of liquid in it, which is the remains of a fermented alcoholic drink that is about 2,300 years old. 2 people who tried this liquid noted its metallic taste. People learned to make fermented drinks in ancient times. The earliest evidence of this was found in the Rakafet cave in Israel, where beer was made from cereals about 13,000 years ago. In the Neolithic era, alcoholic drinks began to be produced in the Middle East and China using millet and rice. In a bronze vessel 30.4 centimeters high and 21.6 centimeters in diameter, they found 300 milliliters of clear liquid, or rather a fermented alcoholic drink that was used as a funeral offering. The researchers found 4 types of starch granules in the liquid: millet, foxtail millet, Job's tears, legumes, wheat, barley, and rice. They also identified organisms involved in fermentation, including aspergillus molds and baker's yeast. The scientists believe the drink resembled modern yellow wine, huangju. Strange rock on the beach. Traveler Kyle Finley, while walking along Edisto Beach in South Carolina one evening, discovered a fossilized tooth of a prehistoric American mastodon. Kyle has been vacationing on Edisto Beach with his family since childhood. Finding fossils had always been his favorite pastime, but this find came as a complete surprise. A representative from the Natural History Museum in London confirmed that Kyle's photographs do indeed show a tooth from an American mastodon, or Mammoth americanum. The American mastodon is a distant relative of mammoths and elephants that lived in North America from the late Miocene to the late Pleistocene and went extinct about 10,000 years ago. These animals were lower and stronger than mammoths. Females reached 2 meters in height and males up to 3. Previously, megalodon teeth and the remains of other prehistoric mammals were found on this beach. Brewing. The history of beer begins in the Neolithic period more than 11,000 years ago. It is one of the oldest drinks that accompanied humanity in the early stages of its development. Some scientists even hypothesize that people began to grow grain not for food, but to brew beer. This drink could be not just a way to quench thirst, but also played an important role in rituals and communication. Brewing is mentioned in one of the oldest literary works, the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is about 3.8 thousand years old. This text, created in Mesopotamia, shows that beer was already known and valued in society. Beer also played an important role in the legislation of that time. In the Code of Hammurabi, a collection of Babylonian laws, beer establishments are mentioned as places that were especially strictly monitored. The owner of a pub had to maintain order, and if criminals gathered in his establishment, he could be sentenced to death. The ancient Egyptians were also big beer lovers. Pyramid builders received a liter of beer every day for their work. Interestingly, high-ranking officials received as much as 5 liters per day, which emphasizes how important beer was in ancient society. Tomb of the Last Anunnaki King. Gilgamesh, king of Uruk, is one of the most important and mysterious figures in the history of ancient Mesopotamia. He not only became the central figure in one of the oldest epic poems, but also left a deep mark on culture and religion. Gilgamesh, whose name is still surrounded by mysticism, was an outstanding ruler whose achievements became the basis for many myths and legends. During his reign, Gilgamesh was known as a great builder, strategist, and warrior. He is credited with creating the massive city walls of Uruk, which protected the inhabitants from enemies and natural disasters. These walls, according to legend, were so impressive that the gods themselves took part in their construction. In addition, the reign of Gilgamesh is associated with a period of economic prosperity and cultural flourishing, which made Uruk an important center of the ancient world. Gilgamesh became a central figure in mythology thanks to the epic poem about his exploits known as the Epic of Gilgamesh. This literary monument, found in the library of the Assyrian king Ashurbanipal in Nineveh, describes the travels and adventures of Gilgamesh, his struggles with natural and supernatural forces, and his quest for immortality. This poem is not only an essential source for the study of ancient Mesopotamian culture, but also reflects the eternal human aspirations and experiences. Archaeological finds confirm the historicity of Gilgamesh. Excavations at Uruk and other Mesopotamian cities have uncovered many artifacts, including cuneiform tablets with texts and inscriptions mentioning his name. Of particular importance is the found tomb, which, according to some versions, may belong to Gilgamesh himself. This discovery, if confirmed, could be key to understanding the historical figure of Gilgamesh. Among the archaeological finds, particular attention is drawn to texts describing the Anunnaki, deities who played an important role in the mythology of ancient Mesopotamia. The Anunnaki, believed to be the descendants of the sky god An and the earth goddess Ki, were associated with the creation of humanity and control of its destiny. Theories about the influence of the Anunnaki extend far beyond Mesopotamia, linking them with other ancient civilizations and even with extraterrestrial visitors from the planet Nibiru. Comparing the Nibiru theory with other theories of cataclysms, such as the flood or the fall of the Tunguska meteorite, demonstrates a wide range of hypotheses about the origin and development of humanity. The discovery of Gilgamesh's tomb could shed light on many aspects of the life and reign of this legendary king, as well as confirm or refute numerous myths about him. Artifacts of a lost, mysterious civilization. Archaeologists have discovered gold jewelry, arrowheads, and a large bronze mirror in burial mounds dating back about 2,000 years in the Turkestan region of southern Kazakhstan. These artifacts are believed to have been made during the time of the Kangju state, which ruled the region between the 5th century BC and 4th century AD. The finds demonstrate the high skill of Kangju artisans who traded with ancient Rome, China, and the Kushan Empire. The bronze mirror, in style and design, probably originated in China during the Han Dynasty. Similar mirrors were found in Afghanistan and the southern Urals, which indicates the high status of the woman next to whom it was buried. Archaeologists claim that the state of Kangju was a federation of different peoples, including the Sarmatians, Xiongnu, and Sakas. The location of the Kangju cities on the Silk Road facilitated diplomatic and trade ties with the entire ancient world. The artifacts will be exhibited at the National Museum of the Republic of Kazakhstan in Astana. A cat-kneaded dough. This discovery was made during excavations on Mount Zion in Jerusalem, where among numerous finds, a fragment of a clay jug with prints of a cat's paw and claw marks was found. These marks belonged to a cat which probably kneaded the clay while it was still drying before firing. This is the first such find in archaeology, confirming that a cat felt so comfortable that it indulged in its usual feline behavior on clay. The fragment of the jug dates back to the Abbasid era, around 750 CE. The marks were not immediately discovered during excavations, but in the laboratory when the director of the laboratory, Gretchen Cotter, was carefully studying the materials found on Mount Zion. The paw print measures about 3x3 centimeters, and the depth of the claw marks suggests that the cat likely stretched and extended its claws, leaving deep marks in the wet clay. Cat kneading is an instinctive behavior that is commonly associated with feelings of security and contentment. Cats do this when they feel relaxed and content. Such animal prints on pottery are not uncommon in archaeology, but this is the first time evidence has been found of a cat leaving claw marks during the kneading process. Other animals, such as dogs and birds, often left marks in clay as it was drying before it was fired. This case is unique not only because it is the first time kneading has been recorded on a piece of pottery, but also because this ancient feline behavior has changed little over the millennia. Cats continue to knead soft surfaces, whether blankets, pillows, or our laps, which brings them a sense of calm and pleasure. Ancient metropolis in Serbia. In the area of the Tamas River in Vojvodina, Serbia, archaeologists have discovered the remains of an ancient settlement covering an area of 13 hectares. This Neolithic city was surrounded by protective ditches, indicating its importance and scale. The work was carried out jointly by specialists from various European scientific institutes who used the latest equipment for geophysical research. These studies helped reveal the existence of a previously unknown metropolis that existed here about 7,000 years ago. Artifacts discovered indicate that the settlement was associated with the Vinca culture, ancient inhabitants of southeastern Europe who lived there between 5,400 and 4,500 BC. The size and structure of the settlement are impressive, and geophysical data show its structure in detail. The metropolis probably suffered from a major fire which left behind many burnt houses. This could have been the result of a raid or disaster, after which the settlement was abandoned. In addition, the evidence found suggests the presence of at least 4 defensive ditches, indicating a high risk of attack at that time. Ruins of a Minoan structure. During the construction of a new airport in Crete, archaeologists discovered a unique round structure with a diameter of about 48 m, about 4,000 years old. The Greek Ministry of Culture called the discovery extremely interesting. The building with an area of 1800 squem refers to the Bronze Age Minoan civilization, which existed on Crete from 3000 to 1450 BC. The Minoans were a highly advanced society known for their maritime trade and art. Experts believe that the building was used mainly in 2000 to 1700 BC, when the first palaces were built on Crete, such as Knossos and Fest. The exact purpose of the structure is unknown, but the animal bones found indicate the possibility of ritual ceremonies, including sacrifices. The interior space was divided into several halls and surrounded by 8 stepped stone walls, 1.7 m high. The dimensions and complex layout indicate the social significance of the building, which required significant labor and special knowledge. Prehistoric canoes at the bottom of the lake. The Wisconsin Historical Society discovered 11 ancient boats ranging in age from 4,500 to 800 years old, along with fishing nets and tools in Lake Mendota. Canoes are found on the lake bottom and along the shoreline. Experts suggest that an unknown civilization flourished here. The Ho-Chunk tribe lived in the vicinity of Lake Mendota, but even earlier, the Paleo-Indians appeared here about 12,000 years ago. The boats, known as dugout canoes, are made from solid logs. Archaeologists have been excavating the lake since 2021 and discovered a 1,200-year-old 5-meter-long boat with ancient fishing nets at a depth of 9 meters. Radiocarbon dating showed the oldest canoe to be about 4,500 years old. The latest red oak boat dates from around 1250 AD. The boats were lifted from the bottom of the lake using inflatable bags and transported to the shore. Archaeologists do not plan to recover other canoes due to their fragility. Ancient Christian Church. Archaeologists have discovered the remains of an Armenian church almost 2,000 years old, making it one of the oldest in the world and the oldest on Armenian territory. The University of Münster in Germany, which collaborated with the Armenian Academy of Sciences on the excavations, called the find sensational evidence of early Christianity in Armenia. The church was found during excavations in Artashat, which was once a thriving metropolis and the capital of the ancient Armenian kingdom. Experts believe that the church was built in the 4th century AD, the same time as the Etchmiadzin Cathedral, the first Armenian church and considered the oldest in the world. The building is the oldest archaeologically confirmed temple in Armenia. It is the first known octagonal church in Armenia. Similar structures are found on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea and also date back to the 4th century. The church resembled early Christian memorial buildings with a diameter of about 30 meters. The floor was made of a mixture of sand and cement, and the walls were made of terracotta, probably brought from Greece or Italy. Scientists also found traces of wooden platforms, which allowed them to accurately date the structure using radiocarbon dating. Second Tibetan Denisovan. A team of scientists examined materials found in the Tibetan Baishaya cave and discovered an ancient rib. Paleoproteomic analysis showed that it belonged to a Denisovan who lived about 32,000 years ago. Basic information about Denisovans is known from a few finds. Most of the fossils were found in Denisova Cave, after which this species of ancient people was named. Outside this cave, Denisovans were first identified in Tibet when protein fragments from a fragment of a 160,000-year-old mandible found in 1980 were analyzed. Later, Denisovan DNA was also found in sediments from younger layers of this cave. The tooth of another representative of this paleopopulation was excavated in Laos. Scientists from Denmark, China, and France have studied the Tibetan Baishaya cave. At this high-altitude site, located at an altitude of 3,280 meters, they found many artifacts and animal remains, indicating that archaic people had visited the cave over many thousands of years. Among the more than 2,500 animal bones and teeth found in the cave were blue sheep, yaks, Tibetan gazelles, and horses. The bones of an ancient hyena, gray wolf, snow leopard, pheasant, and golden eagle were also identified. Anthropogenic traces were found on almost 20% of the bones. During excavations, archaeologists discovered a fragment of a rib more than 5 centimeters long, which fell into 2 parts. Biomolecular analysis showed that the fossil belonged to a Denisovan. Dating by cultural layer determined the age of the find at 32,000-48,000 years, indicating that the Denisovans visited the Baishaya cave for more than 100,000 years. Children's drawings in Pompeii. These findings immerse us in the everyday life of ordinary people on the eve of the disaster. Antique graffiti depicting fighting gladiators was found among the ruins of Pompeii. Scientists believe that these scribbles provide a better understanding of the way of thinking of the ancient Romans. The charcoal drawings were discovered among the ruins of the courtyard of the Casa del Secondo Cenacolo Colonnado, colonnaded house of the Second Last Supper. Researchers say the drawings were created by children probably aged 5-7 years. This is confirmed by the fact that nearby there was a silhouette of a small hand outlined in charcoal. This confirms that even ancient Roman children visited amphitheaters to watch bloody spectacles. Graffiti was found on one of the walls of the corridor near the service yard, approximately 1.5 meters from the floor level. The children probably climbed onto the scaffolding. The drawings depict two gladiators facing each other. Nearby is a scene of Venetia, hunting games, also with two fighters armed with long spears. They appear to be about to fight a pair of wild boars. On the right is the head of a bird of prey, presumably an eagle. In another room, most likely intended for storing amphorae, another series of drawings appeared on the walls, again at a not very high height. These are three small hands outlined in charcoal, two scenes of gladiators fighting, two figures playing with a ball, a boar, and finally, a scene of hand-to-hand combat in which one of the two fighters is lying down. Board games. The love of board games in mankind arose thousands of years ago. These games appeared before many civilizations and accompanied people for thousands of years. The most ancient game, according to archaeologists, was dice games. Cubes found during excavations and dating back more than 5,000 years are almost indistinguishable from modern ones. This confirms that the passion for the game existed in prehistoric times. One of the most ancient games with a board and chips is the Egyptian game of Sinet, which arose around 3500 BC. According to legend, it was invented by the god of wisdom Thoth to lift the curse of the goddess of the sky nut imposed by the god of the moon Khonsu. Sinet was not just entertainment, but also a game with a sacred meaning, symbolizing the struggle between good and evil, as well as the path of the soul to the afterlife. In the East, one of the most ancient games is considered to be Go, the history of which begins around 2000 BC. This strategy game, still popular today, symbolized wisdom and concentration. Backgammon, on the other hand, probably originated in ancient Iran and appeared about 5,000 years ago, although the rules were not documented until Byzantium in the 5th century AD. The Romans also loved board games and played them in taverns where they ate and had fun. Often game boards were carved directly into the tables. Although gambling was prohibited on the streets, it was freely played indoors. Archaeologists have also found cheating dice with a weight inside, which indicates attempts at cheating even in ancient times. Metallic objects from Gaius. The La Mana caves in Ecuador have attracted the attention of not only archaeologists, but also fans of mysticism and ufology for many years. The story of the discovery of metal objects in these caves is shrouded in mystery and mysticism. According to legend, metal plates were discovered in La Mana with symbols engraved on them that resemble modern diagrams, maps, and even technical drawings. These findings became the basis for hypotheses about the existence of an unknown civilization in the distant past that possessed highly developed technologies, or about contacts between ancient people and extraterrestrial beings. Supporters of these theories argue that such complex and detailed symbols could not have been created with primitive tools and should indicate more advanced knowledge. Some researchers even suggest that the plates could have served as star maps or technological instructions left by aliens. However, most scientists are very skeptical about these findings. There is no conclusive evidence that the metal objects from La Mana are indeed ancient. Some experts point to possible traces of modern metalworking and the inconsistency of these artifacts with styles and technologies known in ancient Ecuador. Moreover, there is a lack of reliable dating and context for the objects, which further undermines their authenticity. Archaeologists believe that these artifacts may have been created in a later period, perhaps as part of a hoax or to attract tourists. Thus, despite the fascinating and mysterious story of the metal objects from the caves of La Mana, their origin and meaning remain in question. The story of the caves of La Mana is an example of how myths and legends can intertwine with reality, creating fascinating but often unreliable stories about our past. The oldest private company. Archaeologists in Turkey have found a cuneiform tablet that is about 4,000 years old. This discovery made it possible to establish that the tablet recorded the creation of one of the earliest commercial firms. Excavations were carried out in the ruins of the ancient city of Kultepe, located in Anatolia. Numerous cuneiform tablets dating back to around 1950 BC were found at the site, confirming their age to be around 4,000 years old. The tablet represents the earliest known record of a commercial company being registered. The first commercial company was founded with an authorized capital of 15 kilograms of gold and had 12 founders. Each of them automatically became a shareholder in the company, with each having different shares depending on how much gold they contributed. The company's capital was managed for 12 years by a merchant named Cupid Ishtar. All transactions were strictly recorded and sealed in the presence of witnesses. If someone wanted to withdraw their share before the deadline, they were given about 4 kilograms of silver instead of 1 kilogram of gold. This ensured that capital would remain in the company for a long period. This find is important evidence of early forms of business and shows how commercial activities were already regulated and documented in ancient times. Chichen Itza and its mysteries. Chichen Itza was of great importance to the Mayan civilization as a political, economic, and religious center. This ancient city, located on the northern Yucatan Peninsula, was an important site for rituals and ceremonies related to the gods and astronomical phenomena. Erich von Däniken, known for his theories about ancient aliens, paid attention to the El Castillo Pyramid, Temple of Kukulkan. In his research, he suggested that the accuracy of the pyramid's architectural and astronomical elements may indicate Mayan contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. Däniken noted that pyramids like El Castillo could have been built using technologies unknown to modern scientists. The symbolic meaning of the light shown in the steps of the El Castillo pyramid during the equinoxes is associated with the cultic veneration of the god Kukulkan. During the spring and autumn equinoxes, sunlight creates the illusion of a serpent descending the steps of the pyramid. This phenomenon was interpreted as the return of Kukulkan to Earth, confirming the importance of the Mayas' astronomical knowledge and their ability to design architecture in harmony with the movements of celestial bodies. The Mayans believed in the return of the god Kukulkan, a feathered serpent who symbolized rebirth and renewal. This belief was based on ancient myths and texts such as the Popol Vuh and the Mayan codes, which describe the cyclical nature of time and the return of the gods at certain points in history. Kukulkan was an important deity associated with wind, water, and fertility, making his cult especially significant to the agrarian Mayan society. Modern archaeologists interpret these finds as evidence of the high level of development of astronomy and engineering among the Mayans. They believe that the pyramids and other structures of Chichen Itza were built taking into account complex mathematical calculations and observations of the movement of celestial bodies. Real Indiana Jones find. Archaeologists have made an astonishing discovery beneath one of Jordan's biggest tourist attractions. 12 complete skeletons found in a tomb beneath the iconic structure in Petra known as the Treasury, Al-Khazna. The site was made famous by the film Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The Treasury, which is believed to be a mausoleum, was carved by the Nabatean people around 2,000 years ago. Petra was the capital of the Nabatean kingdom, and its majestic structures carved from pink stone still amaze the imagination. The discovery will help us learn more about the ancient Nabateans. Many other tombs in Petra contained only fragments of human remains, but this tomb contained 12 complete skeletons. This important find will allow us to study the rituals surrounding the life and death of the Nabateans, as well as their way of life, based on the analysis of their teeth and bones. The tomb has been tentatively dated to between the 1st century BC and the 1st century AD, during the height of the Nabatean kingdom, which was annexed by Rome in 106. One of the skeletons was found to contain a ceramic vessel reminiscent of the famous bowl from the Indiana Jones film, adding further intrigue to the find. Unfinished antediluvian structure. In the mysterious valleys of Lebanon lies Baalbek, a city that holds the mysteries of ancient times. A newly discovered structure at the site adds new information, confirming Baalbek's unique significance to archaeology and world culture. For a long time, the megalithic architecture of Baalbek remained a mystery to scientists. The construction methods and reasons for creating such large-scale structures had no analogs. However, the latest discovery offers new interpretations and opportunities for understanding ancient civilizations. Baalbek, located in the Bekaa Valley, is known for its important role in the Hellenistic and Roman periods. Since its conquest by Alexander the Great, the city has undergone significant changes, becoming a bridge between Eastern and Western cultures. Greek culture left its mark on the architecture and art of Baalbek, as can be seen from the stylistic features of its buildings. The Romans, in turn, expanded and strengthened its status as a religious and cultural center by erecting magnificent temples and public buildings. The most famous buildings in Baalbek are the temples dedicated to Jupiter, Venus, and Bacchus. These temples are known not only for their magnificence, but also for the technical achievements embodied in their designs. One of the most significant elements is the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, a giant megalith weighing over 1,000 tons, which was never included in the final design of the temple. The discovery at the quarry in 2014 only added to the mystery surrounding these ancient construction methods. The find showed that ancient builders used technologies ahead of their time, raising questions about the origins and spread of ancient engineering knowledge. Comparing Baalbek with other ancient wonders such as Stonehenge and the Egyptian pyramids, one can see commonalities in the logistics and engineering approaches. For example, transporting the huge stones for Stonehenge or building the pyramids at Giza required not only physical resources, but also advanced planning and astronomical knowledge. Modern archaeological methods such as ground-penetrating radar and 3D scanning are opening new horizons in the study of ancient technologies. Viking sword in trash. On May 27th, Eivind Tveitane Lovra and his son were cleaning their farm in Suldal, Norway. While cleaning, they found a metal object that turned out to be a valuable artifact. Archaeologists with many years of experience took the sword for examination. They had never encountered such finds. During the Viking Age, a sword was a major indicator of status, and wearing one was a privilege. X-ray examination of the artifact allowed scientists to obtain valuable information. The blade retains the contours of an engraving in the form of a cross and possibly letters. The weapon dates back to between 900 and 1050, but the sword has lost almost half its length. According to the Gulaming law, the sword was a mandatory attribute of freemen who attended meetings. The find may be the famous sword of Ulfbert from the Viking Age or early Middle Ages. Sigmund Orell, professor of archaeology at the University of Stavanger, explains that Ulfberts were high-quality swords produced in the Frankish Empire, now Germany. About 170 such swords are known, most of which were found in Scandinavia. Ulfberts are made of crucible steel with a high carbon content up to 1.2%. Lifebuoy. The Assyrians are known for their military achievements and technological innovations that have had a significant impact on history. They created the first regular army, introduced cavalry to replace chariots, and developed military engineering troops with siege weapons. These innovations made the Assyrians one of the most powerful military forces of their time. But in addition to their famous brutality on the battlefield, there is an interesting fact about how they solved the problem of crossing rivers. One of the unique inventions of the Assyrians was an individual flotation device, the prototype of a modern lifebuoy. Warriors used inflatable water skins filled with air to cross water obstacles. These water skins, made of animal skin, were easily inflated and helped to stay on the surface of the water, allowing warriors to safely cross rivers and avoid the danger of drowning. This simple yet brilliant idea was extremely effective and allowed the Assyrians to move quickly even through difficult water obstacles, giving them a tactical advantage. This invention can be considered an early predecessor of modern lifebuoys. Such water skins not only helped warriors, but were also used in everyday life to ferry people and goods. This method was practical and widely used in regions with large rivers and bodies of water. Portal to the Underworld. Last year, a unique artifact, the portal to the underworld, which was stolen and taken to the United States in the 1960s, returned to Mexico. Scientists recently completed restoration and returned it to its original location in central Mexico. This monument, created by the Olmec civilization, has long been considered a gateway to the other world. In the 1960s, it was kidnapped from Chalcatzingo, a famous Olmec archaeological site where it was depicting a mythical cat with gaping jaws, a symbol of entry into the spiritual world. The monument dates from the pre-classic period, created between 800 and 400 BC. The thieves smashed the artifact with hammers to make it easier to transport, but did not damage the main features. It was smuggled to the United States, where it ended up on the illegal antiques market. In 1968, the artifact ended up in a New York museum under the name Monster of the Earth. Archaeologist David Grove recognized the Olmec origins of the monument and noted similarities with other sculptures at Chalcatzingo, especially the Olmec cross-shaped eyes and bromeliad flowers near the mouth. Remote view. Project Stargate is a secret program launched by the CIA in the 1970s to study and apply the phenomenon of remote viewing, also known as remote sensing. Remote viewing is the ability of a person to obtain information about distant or inaccessible objects, places, or events without the use of conventional sensory means. Project Stargate was created to explore the use of this ability for intelligence purposes, including the study of UFOs. The project used various methods such as hypnosis, meditation, and other techniques to put participants into altered states of consciousness where they could receive information. These methods have been used to study UFOs and search for signs of extraterrestrial activity. One of the key participants in the project was Pat Price, a former police officer with exceptional abilities in the field of remote viewing. Pat Price made several important discoveries, especially regarding features beneath Mount Hayes in Alaska. He claimed to have seen an underground base there controlled by aliens and described detailed structures and technologies that were supposedly located in this base. These claims have generated great interest and controversy among researchers. Several CIA documents contain references to such bases and confirm that Price provided information that was partially corroborated by other intelligence sources. However, no direct and unambiguous evidence of the existence of an alien base has been found, and many aspects of these claims remain controversial. Remote viewing is used for reconnaissance and research of UFOs, providing information about places that cannot be explored using traditional methods. For example, remote viewers can describe the internal structures of spaceships or bases that are inaccessible to physical observation. The death of Pat Price in 1975 under mysterious circumstances adds an element of danger to the work of remote viewers. Price's death has sparked much speculation and conspiracy theories, suggesting that he may have been eliminated due to his knowledge and abilities. The moment Ernest Shackleton's ship sank. It was a miracle when the Endurance was discovered under the ice of Antarctica in 2022. Now, thanks to modern 3D scans, we can see the ship that sank in 1915 in incredible detail. These scans show what the ship looked like when it was trapped in ice during Ernest Shackleton's Imperial Trans-Antarctic expedition. The technology used to scan it captured details such as plates scattered across the deck, a boot on the railing, and even traces of a signal flare fired to bid farewell to the ship. The Endurance is almost completely intact, as if it had sunk only recently. These unique 3D scans allow scientists to study the ship, which is considered one of the most inaccessible in the world due to its remote location and ice cover. Mystical stones of Jalisco. Piedras grabadas de Ojuelos de Jalisco are mysterious stones found in the Mexican state of Jalisco, carved with strange figures, scenes, and symbols. These stones have attracted the attention of researchers and UFO enthusiasts due to images that some believe indicate ancient civilizations had contact with extraterrestrial beings. The stones depict people interacting with alien-like figures as well as objects similar to modern ideas about UFOs. Proponents of the paleo-contact theory argue that these stones may be important evidence that ancient Jalisco cultures did encounter extraterrestrial beings, or at least perceive such contacts in their myths and legends. Despite their controversy and lack of scientific evidence, the stones continue to attract interest as a possible artifact that reflects the interaction of mythology and reality in ancient cultures. They still fascinate antiquarians, raising questions about the extent to which our ancestors could perceive or interpret unusual phenomena. Ultra-rare discovery. A rare Mastodon tusk was found in Florida, which became a real sensation. 29-year-old Alex Lundberg, while diving with his friend near Venice Beach, came across this unique artifact. Typically, only prehistoric shark teeth and fragments of mammoth tusks are found in this area, which makes Lundberg's find especially valuable. Experts from the Bishop Bradenton Museum of Science and Nature confirmed the authenticity of the tusk, labeling it as ultra-rare. Lundberg has yet to notify the Florida Museum of Natural History to assess the scientific significance of the find. Mastodon tusks are typically only a few inches long and sell for $20 to $350. However, Lundberg's find could be worth about $5,000. Interestingly, the tusk did not fall apart when lifted from the seabed. Mastodons, which lived 5.4 million years ago and became extinct about 10,000 years ago, were relatives of modern elephants. Their fossils are usually found in Pliocene and Pleistocene sediments. Interestingly, mastodon fossils, including tusks, bones, and skulls, are typically found in only 4 U.S. states: Indiana, Colorado, California, and New York. The Florida find therefore represents a rare and significant discovery. Mysterious stumps on the seashore. The purpose of the mysterious Bronze Age structure known as Sehenge has long puzzled archaeologists since its discovery in 1999 on a beach in Norfolk, England. However, recently, scientists seem to have unraveled its mystery. Sehenge, or Hill 1, is an upturned oak stump surrounded by 55 split trunks. It was built in the late spring of 2049 BC on a salt marsh protected by dunes and mudflats. Amateur archaeologist John Lorimer discovered the site when he spotted a bronze axe head in the sand. He started digging and found a tree stump with a ritual ring around it. This discovery caused strong protests from local residents, but archaeologists took Hill 1 to the Lynn Museum where parts of it were protected with wax. Hill 2, found nearby and left in place, was almost completely destroyed by the tides. Archaeologists suggest that these structures were built to control the weather. In those days, the climate was harsh with frosty winters and late springs, which greatly affected agriculture. The Sacsayhuamán logs were cut in the spring and positioned to coincide with sunrise on the summer solstice. This is due to the belief that the cuckoo, symbolizing fertility, returns to the other world, and with it, summer goes away. The ritual with the cuckoo was supposed to catch it in order to prolong the summer. At the center of Hill 2, sacrifices were made to Venus, which was believed to help agriculture. These rituals were performed every 8 years according to the cycle of Venus. Thus, both monuments sought, in different ways, to put an end to the harsh cold. Oldest photographs of people. Old photographs in family albums can contain rare snapshots of ancestors born in the early 19th century. But who was the very first person to be photographed? Several historical figures whose photographs have survived to this day lay claim to this title. Hannah Stille Gorby. She was born in 1746 and lived in Delaware. Apparently, Hannah was a housewife and farmer. Stille's photograph was taken in 1839, when she was 93 years old. This is one of the oldest photographs of a person that has survived. Conrad Heyer. This man was born in Waldoboro when it was part of the province of Massachusetts Bay. He was born around 1753, although the year of his birth is disputed. It is believed that his photograph was taken in the early 1850s. Mary Monroe Sanderson. Born in 1748 in the Massachusetts Bay Colony, Mary lived until 1852 when she was 104 years old. Aunt Moser. Her photograph was taken in 1852. At the time of the photo, she was, according to various sources, 103 years old, which also makes her one of the oldest women to be photographed. Ezra Green. Born in 1746 in Massachusetts, Ezra became an army surgeon. He lived to be 101 years old, dying in 1847. Green's photograph is one of the earliest surviving. John Adams. John was born in 1744 and, in addition to serving in the army, worked as a shoemaker. 2 years before his death at the age of 104, he posed for a daguerreotype portrait, which is considered one of the oldest. Balthus Stone. George Washington's Army veteran, born in 1747, posed for a photograph at the age of 103. He died shortly thereafter. John Owen. Born in Salisbury in 1735, Owen lived to be 107, making him one of the longest-lived people ever photographed. Caesar, an African slave, was born around 1737. He outlived several generations of masters during his life. At the age of 115, he posed for one of the earliest daguerreotype portraits of African Americans. Caesar died in 1852, leaving behind a rare record of black life in the 19th century. All of these people have left their mark on history not only because of their long lives, but because their images have been preserved in photographs, allowing us to see the past. 5 skeletons found in Wolf's Lair. During excavations at the Wolf's Lair site in Poland, where Adolf Hitler's headquarters was located, archaeologists discovered 5 human skeletons. The find included the remains of 3 adults and 2 children, one of whom was a newborn. The peculiarity of the burial was that the bodies were naked and without limbs, which indicates the unusual nature of the burial. The wolf's lair, hidden in a dense forest and protected by barbed wire, guard towers, and minefields, served as a place where Nazi leaders planned their military operations. This base was destroyed by the Nazis during the retreat from the Red Army in January 1945. Among the artifacts found near the bodies were thunderstones, fossils of ancient sea creatures that in ancient times were considered magical talismans that could bring good luck in battle or protect against lightning. Octavian Bartoszewski, a participant in the excavations, suggested that the bodies may have been buried as a ritual sacrifice to ensure success and prosperity for those who occupied the building. Hermann Göring, the previous owner of the building, is known for his interest in the occult, which may explain the presence of such an unusual burial in his residence. The Nazis, including Hitler, were known for their obsession with the supernatural, which was reflected in their predilection for various occult practices and theories. This discovery not only confirms the dark legacy of the Nazi regime, but also once again demonstrates its desire to use any means, including mysticism and sacrifice, to achieve its goals. Ancient banks. The practice of lending valuables at interest dates back to ancient times, long before the advent of money. People already exchanged goods or services with the obligation to return more than was received. With the advent of a monetary economy, usury became the basis of credit transactions. One of the oldest legal documents, the Laws of Hammurabi, compiled in the 18th century BC, already contains articles regulating usury. For example, Babylonian laws limited the interest rate and prohibited collecting debts from people affected by natural disasters, which can be considered an early form of protecting the rights of borrowers. Real banks, as full-fledged credit organizations, appeared in Babylon around the 8th century BC. These institutions provided services related to storing money, lending, and currency exchange. In ancient Greece, banking functions were performed by trapezites, people who were engaged in currency exchange. However, their activities were not limited to this. They opened accounts for their clients, provided loans, and even carried out money transfers. Thus, even then, banks played an important role in the economy. In ancient times and the Middle Ages, loans with interest were often condemned and prohibited by religions. Christianity and Islam actively fought usury, considering it an immoral and unrighteous activity. Nevertheless, the need for loans always existed, and people found ways to circumvent religious prohibitions. For example, in medieval Europe, Jews, who were not subject to Christian prohibitions, often became usurers, which made them an important part of the economic system of that time. Fabric dyed with insects. Scientists have examined fragments of dyed fabric found in the Israeli Skulls Cave. These pieces of textiles date back to the Middle Bronze Age. The scientists' research has shown that the dye for the fabric was made from dried insects, Mediterranean kermes. Even in ancient times, people learned to make paints from living creatures. In the Mediterranean, the most expensive dye was purple, obtained from the secretion of the glands of sea mollusks. Another valuable red dye was made from dried female scale insects, such as the Mediterranean kermes, which live on oak trees. Written evidence of the use of such dyes is found in cuneiform texts from the Nutsi archive and the Old Testament. Archaeologists have also found kermes in Neolithic vessels in France, although they were most likely used for magical or medicinal purposes. The earliest fragments of textiles dyed with kermes come from ancient salt mines in Austria from 1400–400 BC. Kermes was also used to dye the legendary Pazyryk carpet in Altai. Love conquers all. The artifact was found during archaeological work on a 15th century harbor crane sandwiched between two defensive towers. Polish archaeologists have discovered a medieval decoration in the shape of a dove with the Latin inscription Amor vincit omnia, love conquers all. The dove badge contains the remains of two handles, which allowed it to be hung on a chain or attached to clothing. For the ancient Greeks and Romans, the dove symbolized love, devotion, and care. The dove was the sacred animal of the love goddesses Aphrodite and Venus. Dr. Anna Rimbish-Lubievska, an archaeologist at the museum, says pigeons are associated with love and fidelity. A pair of doves symbolizes care and devotion to a partner, making them the perfect symbol of love and family. The National Maritime Museum in Gdansk said that such decorations were popular in Gdansk between the 14th and 15th centuries. This fashion came from Western Europe, especially from the Netherlands and England. This harbor crane was once the largest working crane in the world. It also served as a defensive structure and one of the city gates. The crane had a lifting capacity of 4 tons to a height of 11 meters, which was achieved thanks to 2 massive wooden wheels at the base, each of which had a diameter of 6 meters. Since 2020, work has continued to restore the port crane, which was severely damaged during World War II. The oldest fabric. Fabric is one of the oldest inventions of mankind, and its history goes back tens of thousands of years. One of the oldest finds is a fragment of fabric, the age of which is estimated at 34000 years. This amazing artifact was discovered in the Georgia Cave in Georgia. Its age indicates that even at that time, people knew how to make and use textiles. These ancient fragments of fabric were made from plant fibers that were twisted into threads and then woven. This technology was a major step in the development of human communities, since it made it possible to create not only clothing, but also various household items such as baskets, fishing nets, and tools for carrying loads. This find shows that the ability to work with fibers developed in people long before the advent of complex tools and technologies. An ancient toy for adults. The artifact, which is already more than 2,000 years old, was found in Great Britain back in 1992. Initially, archaeologists assumed that this wooden object was used as a sewing tool. However, further study suggested that it could be an ancient sexual device. Most scientists agree that the wooden object found is in the shape of a phallus. The uniqueness of this artifact is that it has not changed its shape and method of use even after thousands of years. And the most interesting thing is that its shape will not change in the future for obvious reasons. However, there are several versions regarding the use of this artifact. As a sex toy. Based on Roman images, it is known that they had dildos, but they rarely came down to us because they were most often made from organic materials. Also, some archaeologists suggest that slave owners could use such an object to inflict pain and demonstrate power over slaves. Others believe it could have been a good luck charm. Indeed, in ancient times, amulets of this shape were very common. As a final option, it could be used as a mortar for grinding or mixing spices and other materials used for culinary or medicinal purposes. Treasure older than the Iron Age. Researchers have finally uncovered the mystery of 2 unusual artifacts from the gold treasure, Treasures of Valena. A pair of pieces of jewelry, partly of extraterrestrial origin, have been found in Iberian Bronze Age treasures. The dull bracelet and the rusty hollow hemisphere decorated with gold turned out to be forged from metal that fell from the sky in the form of a meteorite. The discovery was made by Salvador Rovira Loren, former head of conservation at the National Archaeological Museum of Spain. His work showed that metalworking technologies and techniques in Iberia 3,000 years ago were more advanced than previously thought. The Treasures of Valena cache includes 66 items found in 1963 in what is now Alicante. These pieces are considered a prime example of Bronze Age jewelry in the Iberian Peninsula and Europe. 2 pieces of jewelry, a small hemisphere and a bracelet in the shape of a hrivnia, have elements that archaeologists have called iron. This posed a problem since the Iron Age on the Iberian Peninsula began around 850 BC, and gold jewelry dates back to between 1500 and 1200 BC. The difference between meteorite and terrestrial iron is the high nickel content of meteorite iron. Despite the rust, the results of the study showed that the hemisphere and bracelet were made from meteorite iron dating back to approximately 1400 to 1200 BC. The first vending machine. The city of Alexandria in Egypt was a true pearl of the Hellenistic era, a center of science, culture, and innovation. It was there that the Museum was located, the first prototype of a university in history, as well as the famous Library of Alexandria, which stored knowledge from all over the ancient world. In this city in the 1st century AD, the outstanding scientist and inventor Heron of Alexandria lived and worked. His contribution to science and technology was truly enormous. He studied mathematics, optics, hydrostatics, and also created prototypes of such inventions as the theodolite, odometer, and even a steam turbine with jet propulsion. However, one of his inventions is especially interesting in the context of everyday life. Heron created the world's first vending machine. This amazing mechanism was located at the entrance to the temple and dispensed a portion of holy water for drinking and washing hands. The principle of operation was simple. A visitor to the temple threw in a 5 drachma coin and the machine released a certain amount of water. The device worked thanks to the weight of the coin, which set in motion a lever that opened the valve. It may seem that such a simple system could be easily deceived by throwing something else instead of a coin. However, modern researchers and reconstructors claim that the machine could be adjusted to a strictly defined weight and size of the coin, which made attempts at fraud practically useless. This mechanism, despite its simplicity, was a brilliant find for that time and showed how progressive the ideas of Heron of Alexandria were. Kokno Stone. This massive stone, located near the town of Clydebank in Scotland, is covered with complex carved patterns consisting of spirals, circles, and lines, and it is still considered one of the most mysterious archaeological finds in Scotland. After conducting a lot of analysis, scientists confirmed that the stone is about 5,000 years old. The patterns on the Kokno stone attracted attention due to their uniqueness and complexity. Some researchers interpret these symbols as an ancient map of the starry sky, indicating the possible use of the stone for astronomical purposes. In their opinion, spirals and circles can represent stars, planets, or even trajectories of celestial bodies, which could help the ancient inhabitants of Scotland track the movement of celestial bodies. Also, the stone could serve as a place for rituals or ceremonies associated with the worship of gods or spirits of nature. However, there is still no consensus on what role this artifact played in the lives of ancient people. Proponents of the paleocontact theory hypothesize that the patterns on the Kokno stone may be evidence of contact with extraterrestrial civilizations. According to them, the complexity and symbolism of the images may indicate interaction with a more advanced culture, possibly not of terrestrial origin. The healing properties of Stonehenge. Stonehenge, surrounded by an aura of mysticism and ancient secrets, remains one of the most mysterious archaeological sites in the world. This monument, erected in the Neolithic and Bronze Ages, attracts the attention of researchers with its unique stones and mystical past. The archaeological finds around Stonehenge are striking in their diversity, from human remains to objects of everyday use. Among the most significant discoveries are numerous burials believed to belong to people who traveled here from various parts of ancient Britain and even Europe. Skeletons discovered in the Stonehenge area often show signs of surgery and other forms of medical treatment, suggesting that the site may have been used for healing. There are several theories regarding the original purpose of Stonehenge. Some scientists consider it an ancient astronomical calendar, others a place for rituals and holidays. But the hypothesis about Stonehenge as a center of healing especially attracts attention. This theory is supported by analysis of human remains and artifacts found in the area of the monument, many of which indicate pilgrimages of people in search of healing. Stonehenge's bluestones, brought from the mountainous regions of Wales, are unique in that their deposits are located more than 200 kilometers from Stonehenge, making their presence here a real engineering mystery. According to some researchers, ancient people could attribute special healing properties to these stones, which may have been the reason for their transportation over such a long distance. Archaeological evidence and scientific research support the theory of Stonehenge's medical use. Tests of the bones indicate that many of the people buried here suffered from serious illnesses or injuries and may have sought healing from these mystical stones. This function of Stonehenge fits into the context of a wider network of ancient beliefs and rituals common among Bronze Age peoples in Britain. In addition to healing, Stonehenge may have served as a community gathering place for rituals related to seasonal changes, the fertility of the earth, and the veneration of ancestors. The mysticism associated with Stonehenge remains the subject of much discussion and speculation. The mysterious stones continue to attract researchers and pilgrims, and each new discovery only adds depth to the research enthusiasm, shrouding this ancient monument in new layers of mystery and speculation about its true role in the ancient world. Dangers and mystical deaths. People reporting UFO encounters face several dangers. One of the main threats is social stigma. Witnesses are often ridiculed and not taken seriously, which can negatively impact their personal and professional lives. In addition, there are more serious risks, including psychological pressure, threats, and even physical danger. especially if their evidence involves secret government programs or military installations. There are several examples of mysterious deaths of UFO researchers. For example, James McDonald, a renowned scientist and UFO researcher, allegedly committed suicide in 1971 after a series of mysterious events and threats. Morris Jessup, author of The Case for UFOs, also died under suspicious circumstances in 1959, raising suspicions of possible outside interference. There are programs to protect witnesses and UFO researchers. Some organizations provide legal support and security advice. There are many theories about the connection between the deaths of UFO researchers and their work. Some suggest that governments or secret organizations eliminate people who have dangerous knowledge or reveal classified information. Others believe that these deaths may be the result of psychological pressure and stress associated with the study and disclosure of such data. The mystery of the death spot. Death is an integral part of life. All people are mortal, but only a few leave behind riddles that will puzzle generations. In the abandoned mental hospital The Ridges, there is a stain in the shape of a human body on the concrete floor. This is where a patient named Margaret Schilling died. The woman lay there for several weeks, and the spot appeared in 1979, causing a lot of speculation and hoaxes. Forensic experts found that the stain was formed as a result of the decomposition of the body. The Ridges, originally known as Athens Mental Health Center, is located in Athens, Ohio. Opened in 1874, this asylum, like many others at the time, was intended to isolate the mentally ill from society. The Ridges could accommodate about 550 patients. However, by the 1950s, the hospital was overcrowded, with approximately 2,000 patients. There are myths that Margaret was deaf and dumb and was unable to call for help, hiding from the staff. She was slowly dying in a locked room. In fact, Margaret was an ordinary woman with mental disabilities. Married with 3 children, she began to suffer when her mother died. Visions and conversations with her deceased mother led her to the orphanage. Most likely, Margaret died of heart failure caused by the cold in the unheated part of the building. She was found naked, with her clothes neatly folded nearby. Removal of the body left a permanent stain caused by decomposition and exposure to sunlight. Despite attempts to clean it, the stain remained in its place, recalling the tragic fate of the patient. Mysticism lovers quickly created a legend that the stain is an imprint of Margaret's soul, which wanders the corridors of the hospital. They claim that her ghost can still be seen in the form of a blurry figure with a blank look. After the hospital closed, the complex was transferred to Ohio State University. After renovation, the hospital turned into an educational institution. In that same room, they made an archive, covering the silhouette with tiles. However, some claim that they saw the ghost of a woman with folded hands as if offering a prayer to someone invisible. The first concrete. The ancient Romans left behind an incredible architectural legacy. Their large-scale projects, bridges, roads, aqueducts, and of course majestic buildings amaze us to this day. Among the most famous buildings of ancient Rome are the Colosseum, the symbol of the city, and the lesser-known but no less impressive Pantheon Temple. The Pantheon is famous for its huge dome, which remained unrivaled in diameter until the 20th century. One of the key factors in the success of Roman builders was the use of concrete, or as they called it, opus cementitium. Roman concrete was a real revolution in construction. It was a mixture of sand, crushed stone, lime, and volcanic rock, which made it strong and durable. This material allowed the Romans to build not only massive but also durable structures, many of which have survived to this day. Interestingly, modern research shows a unique feature of Roman concrete: its ability to self-heal. When microcracks formed in the material, the interaction of water and volcanic dust led to chemical reactions that sealed these cracks. This became one of the main secrets of the incredible durability of Roman buildings, which survived thousands of years. While modern concrete begins to deteriorate after a few decades, Roman structures made using this ancient technology continue to stand to this day. Bosnian pyramids. Mysterious structures have been discovered in Bosnia that, according to some researchers, may be ancient structures dating back about 12,000 years. These massive formations first came to the attention of archaeologists and enthusiasts in the early 2000s when they were pointed out by Bosnian archaeologist and businessman Samir Osmanagic. He claims that the pyramids were created by an ancient civilization and are much older than the known pyramids in Egypt. The complex consists of several pyramidal structures, including the Pyramid of the Sun, Moon, and Dragon. The Pyramid of the Sun is the largest and reaches a height of about 220 meters, making it one of the tallest pyramids in the world. Amenhotep and his team conducted extensive research, including ground-penetrating radar scans and excavations, claiming to have discovered traces of ancient tunnels and stone blocks that indicate the pyramids were man-made. However, not all scientists agree with this point of view. Many geologists and archaeologists argue that these structures are natural formations formed as a result of geological processes. They indicate that the geological structure of the region and the shape of the pyramids can be explained by natural forces such as erosion and tectonic movements. They remain one of the most mysterious and debated finds in modern archaeology. Unknown statue in a Thai forest. Recently, mushroom pickers in Thailand found a stone sculpture of a woman resembling Buddha's mother and reported the discovery to researchers. Despite the remoteness of the region, archaeologists have doubts about the origin of the statue. This discovery has sparked controversy among scientists who are trying to determine the age of the statue. One of the people who found the statue shared the find on social networks, expressing his surprise and admiration. He called it a blessing because the sculpture was found in a place he had known for a long time. The sculpture, carved on the sloping surface of a rock, depicts a woman in full height. She has long hair and traditional clothing, including a long skirt and a heavy scarf around her neck. A woman holds a branch above her head. Some believe that the sculpture dates from the Dvaravati period, a kingdom of Southeast Asia, 6th to the 11th centuries, and depicts Maya Devi, the mother of Siddhartha Gautama who became the Buddha. However, this theory is not generally accepted. An art historian from Silpakorn University in Thailand believes the sculpture may be more recent. He claims that the sculptor imitated ancient Indian art but created his work later. The specialist points out the sculpture's facial features, such as eyebrows and lips, which do not match those of the Dvaravati era. He also notes that the image of Maya Devi holding a fig tree branch was not common in the region during that era. The fig tree, native to Southeast Asia, has religious significance for Buddhists and Hindus. Skeleton Lake. Hundreds of human skeletons have been found at the bottom of Rupkund Lake in the Indian Himalayas, earning it the nickname Skeleton Lake. The skeletons vary widely in age, and it is still unclear how they all died. Previously, it was thought that they could have been the victims of a single disaster, such as a powerful storm that killed a large group of people. Recent research has only complicated the mystery. Scientists analyzed the DNA of 38 bodies found and found that the remains belonged to people from different eras, thousands of years apart. These people arrived at the lake at different times, disproving the theory that a single group died en masse. The research began a decade ago when geneticist Kumarasamy Thangaraj of the Indian Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology sequenced the mitochondrial DNA of 72 skeletons. Some were of Indian origin, but some of the remains belonged to people with DNA typical of Western Europeans, particularly Crete and Greece. Interestingly, the time range of these finds also turned out to be varied. Most of the bones date back to the 7th to 10th centuries AD, but among them there are also remains dating back to the 19th to 20th centuries. The causes of death of these people remain unclear, which adds to the mystery of this place. The painful death of the Screaming Woman. In 1935, a mysterious mummy was found near Luxor, Egypt, dubbed the Screaming Woman because of her horrific open-mouthed expression. Scientists believe that the woman may have died from extreme pain leading to cadaveric spasm, which fixed her face in a scream. The mummy was discovered by an archaeological expedition from the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City in the tomb of Sinmut, the chief architect of Queen Hatshepsut. The tomb also contained a burial chamber for his mother and other relatives. Despite the rich burial, the identity of the Screaming Woman and the reason for her facial expressions remained a mystery for almost a century. Archaeologists conducted a detailed study of the mummy using CT scanning and infrared photography. A virtual autopsy revealed that the woman was about 48 years old, stood about 150 centimeters tall, and suffered from mild arthritis. Remarkably, her internal organs, such as her brain, heart, and lungs, were intact, which was not consistent with the usual mummification practices of the New Kingdom. Her burial included a black wig made of date palm fibers treated with minerals and 2 rings with jasper scarabs, indicating her high social status. Dr. Salem suggested that her facial expression may have been the result of cadaveric spasm, a rare condition in which muscles used heavily before death freeze, indicating possible suffering or extreme stress. The embalmers mummified her body before it began to decompose or relax, keeping her mouth open. These microbes are 2 billion years old. Scientists have discovered the oldest microorganisms living in the depths of our planet. Rocks about 2 billion years old were found in South Africa, which is impressive in itself, but even more sensational was the discovery of living microbes in them. These organisms are the oldest microorganisms ever found in such ancient rocks. Before this discovery, it was believed that the oldest living microorganisms were found in geological layers about 100 million years old under the ocean floor. But a new study has shown that even rocks 2 billion years old can be habitable. This discovery significantly expands our understanding of life in extreme conditions and its evolution on Earth. The microbes were discovered in a crack in an ancient rock extracted from the Bushveld igneous complex, the largest intrusion of igneous rock on Earth. This region is famous for its ore deposits, including about 70% of the world's platinum reserves. Microorganisms that live in such conditions develop incredibly slowly and can survive for billions of years. This discovery is important not only for the study of life on Earth, but also for future exploration of Mars. Microbes that survive in such extreme conditions give hope for the possibility of life existing beneath the surface of other planets. The Glozell Tablet. In 1924, clay tablets with mysterious symbols and images were discovered in the small village of Glozell in France, causing a heated debate in the scientific community. These artifacts, found by a young farmer Emile Fradet, were so unusual that they could not be linked to any known ancient civilization. The tablets contain symbols and images reminiscent of ancient writings, but their origin and meaning remain unclear. Some researchers have hypothesized that the Glozell tablets may be evidence of a lost or unknown culture that developed in the region thousands of years ago. Another more radical theory suggests that the tablets may be traces of extraterrestrial intervention, although there is very little evidence for this. However, the authenticity of the tablets remains in question. Since their discovery, scientists have conducted numerous studies to understand whether they are real ancient artifacts or skillful forgeries. To date, none of the versions have received definitive confirmation, and the Glozell tablets continue to be one of the most mysterious archaeological finds of the 20th century. Face of Amenhotep III. Amenhotep III ruled ancient Egypt 3,400 years ago at the height of its power. Considered one of the richest men in history, he was revered as a living god and was the grandfather of Tutankhamun. Now we can see his true face, thanks to scientific reconstruction. Amenhotep III led Egypt to unprecedented prosperity and international power. There are more statues of him than any other pharaoh, but his face has never been reconstructed. An international team of scientists decided to show us what this man looked like. Michael Habicht, an archaeologist at Flinders University in Australia, notes that Amenhotep III looked different than in his statues. This suggests that all the Egyptians who lived after his death did not know what he really looked like. His face after reconstruction expresses the calm of a man who stood for peace and lived in an era of economic prosperity. Research showed that the pharaoh was obese, sick and inactive, suffered from dental problems, was almost bald, and had a height of only 156 centimeters, which made him one of the shortest pharaohs. Brazilian graphics expert Cicero Moraes digitally reconstructed Amenhotep III's skull using data from living donors to determine the size and position of the nose, ears, eyes, and lips. The reconstruction also took into account historical data about his strong physique. This is the first close-to-reality image of the face of Amenhotep III, which includes not only the face, but also clothing and accessories. Amenhotep III died between the ages of 40 and 50, leaving his successor a country at the peak of power and wealth. In diplomatic letters, foreign rulers begged him to send them gold, describing Egypt as a country where gold was as abundant as sand. There is speculation that Amenhotep III's mummy may have been covered in gold leaf, making it look like a statue of a god. It is also suggested that the pharaoh was a great connoisseur of women, importing hundreds of foreign harem ladies. After the death of Amenhotep III, his son Amenhotep IV changed his name to Akhenaten and established the cult of the sun god Aten. However, his son Tutankhaten restored the cult of Amun and changed his name to Tutankhamun, becoming one of the most famous pharaohs thanks to the discovery of his tomb in 1922. Ancient love for sweets. People developed a love for sweets long before their diet changed, and scientists have found that our ancestors were ready for it thanks to ancient DNA. The AMI1 gene, which is responsible for breaking down complex carbohydrates, appeared much earlier than previously thought and may have played a key role in the development of civilization. The digestion process begins in the mouth, where saliva contains amylase, an enzyme that converts starch into simple carbohydrates. It was previously believed that this enzyme arose with the onset of agriculture when bread and starchy foods appeared in people's diets. However, a study by the University of Buffalo and the Jackson Laboratory, USA, has shown that salivary amylase existed more than 800,000 years ago, long before the advent of agriculture. A study of ancient genomes, including people who lived 450,000 years ago in Siberia, revealed that they already had 4 to 8 copies of the AMI1 gene. This suggests that the mutation responsible for amylase synthesis arose as a result of natural selection. Moreover, this gene was present in both Neanderthals and Denisovans, which confirms its ancient origin. The comparison also showed that modern Europeans, especially farmers of the last 4,000 years, have an increased number of copies of this gene, which is associated with a change in diet. Oldest photograph in Germany. The date of invention of photography is considered to be 1839. However, a photo was discovered in Munich that changes history. A photograph taken 2 years earlier was found in the German museum. The photograph, measuring 4 by 4 centimeters, depicts a Munich landmark, the Frauenkirche Cathedral. The photograph was taken by the German scientist Franz von Kobel in 1837. Researcher Cornelia Kemp found this photo in the archive. It was previously believed that the oldest photograph in Germany dates back to 1839. It was in this year that Louis Daguerre invented the daguerreotype, but a discovery in Munich shows that the first photograph in Germany was taken in March 1837. Kobel marked the date on the back of the salt-printed photograph. In the photo, the Frauenkirche appears as a shadow against the dark sky. The image was upside down and exposed for hours. The oldest photograph in Germany will not be seen in the permanent exhibition of the museum. It will be stored in a special room with a low temperature. DNA of modern Japanese. Today, Japan attracts people from all over the world, but it was not always so. For 10,000 years, the archipelago remained isolated until the first migrants from the mainland began to arrive there. This was confirmed by genetic analysis of the remains of a man of the Yayoi era. The Japanese population has a dual origin, but the details of this mixing remained unclear for a long time. Scientists from the University of Tokyo, led by Jong-hyun Kim and Jun Ohashi, decided to look into the matter. According to their data, about 80% of the nuclear genome of modern Japanese people comes from people from East and Northeast Asia. There are 2 models that explain the genetic diversity of the Japanese. One assumes a single wave of migration during the Yayoi and Kofun periods, the other allows for several sources. Geneticists analyzed the genome of a man of the Yayoi era from the Doigahama Cemetery and compared it with ancient and modern populations. It turned out that the Yayoi and Kofun people are genetically closer to Koreans than modern Japanese, confirming the hypothesis of a single source of migration from the Korean peninsula. Features of the Antikythera mechanism. In the depths of the sea off the island of Antikythera in 1901, a group of Greek divers encountered one of the most mysterious finds in the history of archaeology. They discovered a sunken ship that was carrying treasures from the ancient world, including statues, jewelry, and most strikingly, a complex piece of machinery that had been oxidized and littered with sea sediment. This object, which became known as the Antikythera mechanism, is shrouded in the mysteries of the past and is the subject of much research today. The mechanism, made of bronze, is a complex system of gears and levers consisting of 30 mechanical components housed in a wooden frame. The structure of the mechanism testifies to the high level of knowledge and technical skills of its creators. This artifact demonstrates an amazing mastery of metalworking and knowledge of astronomy. 3D scanning and X-ray tomography allowed scientists to delve deeper into the structure of the mechanism and understand its operation. These methods made it possible to examine every detail of the device without the risk of damaging it. Thanks to these technologies, it was discovered that the mechanism includes a series of gears capable of predicting the astronomical positions and ephemeris of the Sun, Moon, as well as other planets in the solar system. The main function of the Antikythera mechanism was astronomical modeling. The device was used to calculate and predict solar and lunar eclipses, as well as to determine the phases of the Moon and possibly the positions of the planets. This discovery greatly expanded the understanding of how advanced technology and scientific knowledge were in ancient Greece, confirming their ability to create complex computing devices many centuries before the invention of digital computers. However, many mysteries of the Antikythera mechanism remain unsolved. For example, the exact purpose of some components and scales, as well as the entire list of its functions, are not fully understood. In addition, it remains unclear who exactly created this mechanism and whether other similar devices were created that could provide additional clues about the technological advances of the era. The Antikythera mechanism remains a symbol of ancient Greek engineering, a reminder that the history of technology and science is still full of unexplored pages.
10,000-year-old chewing gum. 10,000 years ago in what is now Sweden, a group of teenagers chewed birch tar, similar to children chewing gum today. They could not even imagine that in the future, scientists would analyze their chewing remains and find out many interesting facts about their diet, lifestyle, and even health. 3 pieces of birch pitch used as glue in the Stone Age were found in the 1990s at a site called Huseby Cleve. Microbial DNA analysis of the resin showed high levels of bacteria associated with gum disease, such as Treponema denticola and Streptococcus aeruginosus. The study of these samples showed that the ancient teenagers suffered from caries and periodontal disease and also ate deer, trout, hazelnuts, and processed fox and wolf fur. Scientists have also found traces of birds and other animals, indicating their use as food and the processing of bones into tools. Traces of mistletoe were found in the gums of the specimens, suggesting the plant's possible use in medicine or as a poison for arrowheads. The discovery provides a unique insight into the lives of hunter-gatherers on the west coast of Scandinavia 9,700 years ago, allowing us to learn about their diet and dental problems. And we are only talking about very old chewing gum that children chewed. And thanks to modern technologies, they can already tell so much about the lifestyle of people who lived 12,000 years ago. Ancient Roman safe chest. In 1994, in central Spain, next to the ancient Roman temple of Mithra, archaeologists found the ruins of the Villa Casa del Mitreo. Built at the end of the 1st century, it was rebuilt several times before a major fire in the 4th century. Particular attention was drawn to a large wooden chest, bound with copper and iron plates. In ancient Rome, such chests served as safes for storing valuables. The chest measures about 3 by 1.5 meters, making it the largest such find. Due to the poor condition of the chest, which was damaged in a fire, archaeologists did not dare to remove it in 1994 for fear of destruction. The chest was left in place, awaiting better times and technologies to preserve it. This is a common practice in archaeology when the safety of an artifact cannot be guaranteed. In 2017, thanks to new technologies, the chest was removed and delivered to the Institute of Cultural Heritage of Spain. Here it was stabilized and preserved. There is no information about the contents of the chest. Most likely, the owners saved valuable things before the destruction of the villa.
The other side of the Pope. Balthazar Cosa, who became John III, proved that even a pirate could find himself on the papal throne. His life began in 1370 on the island of Procida, and from an early age he became interested in piracy along with his brothers. However, at the request of his mother, he went to study in Bologna and quickly turned from a robber into a theologian. At the university, Balthazar formed the 10 Devils Gang, was involved in petty racketeering, and even met his love, the witch Yandra de la Scala. But after her arrest by the Inquisition, he killed 2 inquisitors and went to prison himself, from where his friends rescued him. After escaping, Balthazar returned to piracy until his ship was wrecked, at which point he vowed to become a priest if he survived.
Having survived and fulfilled his vow, Balthasar encountered Pope Urban VI and was involved in the dark affairs of the papal court, becoming an executioner and murderer. After Urban's death, his successor, Benedict XVI, sent Balthasar to suppress the uprising in Bologna, which he did with particular cruelty. As a reward, Balthasar received control of the city. Continuing his path in the church hierarchy, he took out a loan and bought himself a bishopric. After the death of Alexander V, Balthasar took the opportunity and was elected pope, becoming John III. However, his reign was short. At the Council of Constance, he was overthrown, accusing him of many crimes. Not giving up, Balthasar escaped but was caught and released for a large sum. Returning to Bologna, he lived to the end of his days, dying of cancer. On his grave, there is a monument by Donatello. The story of Balthasar Cosa shows how unpredictable people's destinies can be, and how sometimes even the most incredible personalities can leave a noticeable mark on history. Throughout the history of the Catholic Church, a great variety of terrible, vile, and mystical evidence has accumulated. This story is just a small confirmation. If you want to learn more about the history of the Vatican, the archives of the Pope, and cooperation not only with the Nazis, write in the comments under the video.
A slave's own harem. Pata Seca, a black slave who lived in Brazil in the 19th century, went down in history as a breeding bull used to increase the slave population on plantations. His real name was Roque José Florencio, and he fathered over 200 children with different women. These children, born to work, inherited the status of slaves, their birth being part of the owner's plans to increase the workforce on the plantations. The situation was exacerbated in early 1808 when Britain banned the slave trade. This event led to a decrease in the flow of slaves from Africa, which threatened the business of the plantation owners. In response, they began to increase the number of slaves by increasing the birth rate among the existing slaves. Pata Seca, with his physical attributes, 218 centimeters tall and strong build, became the ideal candidate for this purpose. He was bought specifically for this role and brought to a plantation near Sao Paulo. Interestingly, Pata Seca did not do hard work, but lived separately from other slaves, wore good clothes, and carried out simple tasks for his master. Despite the privileges, he remained a slave whose main duty was to impregnate the slaves chosen by the master. His life, although comparatively easier, remained essentially humiliating. Pata Seca's children did not have any special status. They became ordinary slaves, were tortured, and could even be killed with impunity. Many of these children themselves became parents. Recent genetic studies have shown that about 30% of the population of the Santa Eudoxia São Carlos district are descended from Pata Seca. Pata Seca lived to see the abolition of slavery in Brazil in 1888. He was still quite young and received a plot of land from his former master. On this land, Pata built a house, married a woman named Palmyra, and became the father of 9 children. He spent the rest of his life as a free man, taking care of his family and the new generation that no longer knew slavery. I will finish this video with this sad story with a happy ending, but I strongly recommend you to subscribe to the channel and watch other videos on the channel that will immerse you in the world of archaeology and history. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Bye, everyone.